Hello, beautiful people. It's Sindafam. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be checking this video together. Let's check it out.
Joining me now is Douglas Murray, Associate Editor of The Spectator and the best-selling author of The War on the West. Douglas, we've seen an outpouring of grief and gratitude after the Queen's death, but also it's revealed just how twisted and divorced from reality some leftist publications have become, none more so than the New York Times. You've written about the paper's hostility against Britain. What's driving the type of coverage we've been seeing from the New York Times?
Well, I'm afraid that the New York Times, I've written about this quite a number of times in recent years, since 2016 has just had an unbelievable animus against Great Britain. It seems not to have been able to forgive the populace for the democratic vote that meant that we voted for Brexit. And the paper, which used to be the paper of record in the United States and used to be a very highly regarded publication, made an incredibly frivolous set of assumptions. It assumed that Brexit was the same thing as Donald Trump. It assumed that Brexit was somehow against the international liberal ideas of the New York Times. And so for the last 6 years, it's run a campaign of defamation, slander, and libel against the United Kingdom. And a quite incredible campaign. I've documented it. It's just, sometimes it's just ludicrous, like its culinary section will claim that people in Britain are basically still living on gruel and mutton. Sometimes sometimes they get just basic facts wrong, or they just get a gob left winger to say, for instance, that Britain's a racist country. Usually, by the way, an ethnic minority British person who claims that Britain is racist, yet weirdly is still in it. And then this week, I think the paper hit what is just a new low even for it. Within hours of the news of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the newspaper decided to immediately run an incredibly hostile piece by a left-wing non-entity academic talking about colonialism, empire, and the crimes of colonialism, and that Elizabeth II had much to answer for, and this sort of thing. They didn't even leave it 24 hours before doing this. And we've seen in the days since other left-wing media join in. CNN, MSNBC, they've all decided to display not just animus against the Crown and against Great Britain and the Commonwealth, they've also decided to display their extraordinary ignorance of history. I mean, they seem to believe that, for instance, Elizabeth II oversaw the empire. They seem to believe the British royal family made its wealth from colonialism. They seem to think that the colonial era was so terrible that the Commonwealth countries must have been strong-armed into joining the Commonwealth. They've totally ignored the fact, of course, that every Commonwealth country's leadership, quite understandably, has been expressing their mourning and grief for the loss of Elizabeth II. And why would that be if she was such a tyrannical ruler? Only because that's in the head of these very twisted, spiteful, hateful people like the New York Times. It's quite amazing to watch and very disturbing, because it's a reminder, if I can say so, that, you know, institutions like the New York Times used to be great institutions, and they've been destroyed by hatred. And that's the exact opposite of what Queen Elizabeth showed in her own lifetime, which is that you build institutions with love and loyalty. And that's something that the CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, they wouldn't understand the language we were speaking in there.
Absolutely true. Is how lots of people, especially from the woke left, show their disrespect or are so disrespectful towards the crown or so ignorant towards history or whatever happened in history. As well as the woke mainstream media, they push a certain narrative, sell a lie to people because they know people trust them. So obviously they sell a lie and lots of people believe those lies and tell them the side of history that is beneficial for their narrative. Because talk about colonialism. Lots of people know the battles that was fought during colonialism. But people don't want to see the greater good. People don't want to see the good that was done during that time or the good that was done in the colonization of many nations, the birthing of many great nations we see today. People don't want to look at it. People just want to hate on something. They find what to hate or they look for what to hate, so they all have a common enemy. Because I mean, in their eye or in their mind, it's a lot easier to have a common enemy than to face the truth or to face the reality of things. So they sell a lie. Because ask yourself the question, why are they afraid of people finding out the truth? Why are they afraid of telling people the truth? They obviously know the truth, because they know once people start hearing the truth, nobody's going to pay attention to them, nobody's going to be listening to them. So the woke mainstream media, they have to sell a lie so people trust, so people believe them or people listen to them. Because I mean, make it make sense. Why are they twisting the events or things that happened in history?
No, and it's not just the hate. As you said, it's the historical ignorance, which is astonishing, particularly when it comes from people you'd think would have a grasp of history. They're academics, they're members of the media, the working media. You mentioned some of the other outlets, CNN, The View on the ABC. Let's just have a look at some of these examples.
You know, this idea of how the royal family, how this family grapples with its history and legacy of colonialism, of slavery, of the potential paying of reparations is a really important one. And I think that King Charles understands that his job is, yes, as a monarch, but he is also an anchor for this Commonwealth.
She said, a thieving, raping, genocidal empire is finally dying. May her pain be excruciating.
It was a thieving, raping, genocidal
but I think
empire.
I'm lost for words. Step in.
First of all, if the British Empire had been genocidal, the people in question wouldn't be alive. They wouldn't be speaking. If the British Empire had been a genocidal empire, it would have tried to kill all of the people under its rule. It did no such thing. There wouldn't be any people in the countries that were under British rule if the British Empire had been genocidal. Genocidal is the intent to wipe out an entire people. The British Empire never tried to do that anywhere. That's the first thing. The second thing is that absolute moron we just saw first from CNN talking about reparations. She has no idea in her own racist hatred that Britain paid reparations 250 years ago. We paid reparations throughout the 19th century. We paid reparations for slavery by abolishing it under George III and then policing the high seas to ensure that slavery not only was outlawed across the British territories, but was outlawed across the high seas. We paid higher goods in Britain throughout the 19th century, higher prices in goods, because we wouldn't deal in enslaving countries such as the United States of America. And so when people talk about reparations today, it demonstrates not just their own basically give me cash mentality, which is all that you see here, but also the incredible ignorance. They don't know that Britain paid down any moral and financial debt it ever had 200 years ago under very distant predecessors of Queen Elizabeth II. And these people are not just tin-rattling money makers. They're also just constantly showing their unbelievable ignorance of everything that happened before the day they were born.
Obviously, the woke mainstream media sell a lie or sell victimhood and guilt trip people, making people hate one another, hate themselves, hate a beloved country that has given them so much. And lots of people breed so much hate because obviously lots of people don't even know the truth. Some people blindly, ignorantly follow them or listen to them because to them, they believe the mainstream media or the woke mainstream media is telling them the truth or telling them exactly what happened. Why are they telling one-sided part or a portion size of history? Is history as a whole happened for a reason. So we learn history and make sure it's not repeated again. Slavery happened, but a group of people, a nation came together, decided to abolish slavery because it was not good for humanity. But nobody want to see the greater good out of it. They only want to take the portion side of it, take the bad side and sell to people so people believe. Why are they completely erasing history as a whole? Why are they telling the side of history, only one side of history, not the entirety of history? They know what they are doing. They need people they can control, so they sell a lie to people. As long as they have a good amount of people that will believe in their lies. Did people forget other countries' involvement in slavery, or did people forget other countries side of history. People don't want to talk about it. The woke people, woke left, and the woke mainstream media don't want to talk about others' involvement in slavery. They only talk about some particular group of people's involvement in slavery. So they have this victim mentality where they sell a lie to people. Why don't people talk about generational healing? Why do people always talk about generational trauma? Something happened to your ancestors, but you are the one feeling the pain. Your ancestors died long time ago. Your ancestors suffered something long time ago. You are the one complaining about being hurt. From what pain exactly? The essence of learning history is so that people move on and don't repeat it again. But obviously, it seems like there are some people who want history to be repeated, so they use it for whatever gain or whatever movement or political agenda or whatever agenda they want to push. That's why they don't want people to learn the entirety of the truth, or want people to learn the truth of history or the true side of history, because they know what they are doing. Because look at it now today. You see some particular group of people, especially in regards to politics or when there is an election, some people fine tune it or fine tune what happened in history. They bring it back or they sell it back and tell people you're in, who to hate, what to hate, what happened to your ancestors, and they keep bringing back things that happened in history in regards to your ancestors. Why are they telling you? Why are they doing that? Of course, they need people they can control, so they sell a lie to people, and it's just so shameful that people ignorantly follow those lies or listen to those lies. Ever heard the saying, emancipate yourself from mental slavery? Of course, lots of people today that we see are free, but they are not free from victimhood. They are not free from being guilty or guilt tricked. They are not free from being oppressed. They still have mental slavery. You're free, you're walking free, but no, your brain or your mind is still in bondage, and you're still enslaved in your mind. And that is what they want. That is what the woke left wants. So they push or sell the narrative to you, because obviously they still have lots of people in bondage. But this was an interesting conversation. Regardless, let me know what you think. I'm sure tons of people have interesting things to share. I really love you to share that. You can share all the useful information you think might be really helpful. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all of that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.